This is Isabella Illustrations here. Welcome to a new video. So today's video is going to be another book video. Though this one is going to be an interesting one because I'm going to go through all of my novels, just my novels, that I own. The ones, basically the ones I have read and the ones I haven't read. We're going to go through all of them and then we're going to see, do I have more books on my shelf that I've read or more books on my shelf that I haven't read and have just been accumulating? So this will be kind of interesting. I've never seen this done before, but maybe it has been. Anyway, we have a lot of books to go through, maybe not as much as other people, but let's just get to the video. All right, so I guess we're gonna do this one as a series. So, The Cruel Prince / The Folk of the Air trilogy. Now, I did a review on these, so you guys know I have read them. So these will go in the read pile, and I think I don't know if I'll include the series as one whole book, or all three of them as separate, but this goes in the pile of read books. Next book is a standalone. So this is Leigh Bardugo's new book, The Familiar, which I bought this year, and have not read this yet. But apparently it has to do with, like, her Spanish roots, and it's like a fantasy, but in our world, so a contemporary kind of fantasy. Usually I'm not into those, but this one seemed pretty interesting, and yeah, very excited to get to this, but I have not gotten to this. So this will go on my pile of books that have not been read yet. Okay, next. Okay, so this is a part of the Twisted Tales series by Disney. They're each different, like, what-if scenarios based on favorite Disney movies. So this one is based on Hercules, and it's the what if Meg had to become a Greek god. I personally really enjoyed this book, and I did read this. So this is going on the red shelf, or red pile. Next one is also a Disney novel, and that is a Frozen one. This is the Polar Nights. This one's basically takes place after Frozen 2, so I had to pick this up when it came out. I was like, I need more Frozen content after Frozen 2. So again, they have to solve kind of like a mystery. Their grandfather did something pretty awful again. So yeah, there's just like this really bad storm, and it won't go away till they figure this whole thing out. So it was very fun. I enjoyed it. And yeah, this is going on my red pile. Next book. So this is a novel adaptation of basically the origin story of Harley Quinn. And it was written by one of the creators of her. So it's a legit book, a novelization. And I have the comic of this story as well, but the novel goes into more detail. So I read this when I was in my hardcore Harley Quinn phase, and I really liked it. So yeah, this is going in my red pile. Okay, this was one of my newest Frozen books, and this was the one I got for Christmas. It was the 10-year anniversary anthology with stories that take place before Frozen, stories that take place after Frozen 2, stories, it's just like a bunch of really great stories. And this was good. Excuse the cat, she's trying to get in. But yeah, this was red, so red pile. Another Twisted Tales book. This one was actually my first one, and it's the Frozen one of what if, like, Anna and Elsa never knew each other. So basically if they were separated when they were young, but like Anna was sent to live with a different family entirely and never knew she was a princess, which I didn't love it, but I did like the little twists that they did with this. So, yep, another red book. Alright, so the next series is the Grishaverse King of Scars duology, which I have read both of these. So that's another 2 books in my red pile. And I really had fun with these. I liked seeing the characters from Shadow and Bone back. I liked following Nikolai more than I thought I would. And Zoya also grew on me. And I happen to love these characters now, more than I really did in the original series. But yeah, these were very fun. Next up is more Grishaverse books, the Six of Crows duology. I have read these, and I had, again, a great time. And they were entertaining. Kaz blew me away with the way his mind works. All the characters are so fun to follow. I just love all of Leigh Bardugo's characters in the Grishaverse. They're all so amazing, and I love every single one of them. And if you haven't read this series, please do. Yeah, so these are going on my red pile. Next is my favorite in the Grishaverse, and that is the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Now, I know this is a not very popular opinion, but I happen to love the Shadow and Bone books more than the Six of Crows books, and I've read these twice, so these are going in my red pile. I will read these again. I will read these probably 100 times before I die. I just have so much fun with these books, and I went through and annotated them the second time around, but yeah, I love these books. I cannot express that enough. So, more books in the red pile. So the next book is one I haven't read, and this is A Shadow in the Ember, which is basically an adult fantasy. And I bought this while I was in my looking for books that are kind of similar to Shadow and Bone phase. So, like, I haven't read this yet, but very excited to read this, hopefully soon. And yeah, it's basically about this girl who has a mission to kill, like, the primal of death, but she, like, falls in love with him. And I think that's so fun. So that's going in the not red pile. All right, next book is also a Frozen book. This one's probably my absolute favorite of them all. And this is the one that goes into the backstory of Anna and Elsa's parents, which, when the movie Frozen 2 came out, I was reading fan fiction about this, and when I found out there was a canon book coming out, I bought it the day it came out. This was so much fun, and yes, it's going in the red pile. This next book is part of a trilogy, and it is basically A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and it's basically a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, which I was kind of like in a phase where I was like, I need Beauty and the Beast kind of stories, so I got this. Still haven't read it yet, but very excited to read this one all the same. So, very excited to have this. This is going in the not red pile. Next one. Beautiful Creatures. Now, I only have the first book, but it's a series, and I have not read this book. I got it at the thrift store about a year ago. I still haven't read it, but yeah, I watched the movie, really liked it, want to read the books at some point, and yeah, I love I'm very picky about my contemporary kind of fantasy books, but this does take place in a contemporary setting. But it's just really cool with the witches and stuff. It's kind of like, well, they're casters, but anyway. Another book I have not read, so it will go in the not read pile. Next. This is basically a retelling of a Russian folk tale with Koschei the Deathless and basically Maria Morevna, and it was written so beautifully. I love this. It's like reading a fairy tale, but it's also like just a really it's just really a good time. I had fun reading this. And another book I got during my Shadow and Bone phase, where I was looking for like powerful dark guy goes after a young, naive girl. And I really, really like this one. So that's going in the red pile. Okay, so this book is part of the Sundered series. It's basically about this girl who's on the light side and this guy, like, who's on the darker side. And there's a war going on between both their sides, but they fall in love. And another story inspired by me wanting more stories like Shadow and Bone. So, haven't read this yet, but I'm definitely so excited again to read this. So, going in the not read pile. Alright, this one is part of the Twisted Tales series, and this is basically if Aladdin had never found the lamp and Jafar had gotten to it. So, haven't read this one. As you guys know, I just got it. So, going in the not read pile. And then we also have The Twisted Tale of Beauty and the Beast. Basically, what if, like, Belle's mother was the enchantress or cursed the beast? So you guys also know I haven't read this one yet. So this is going as well in the not read pile. Alright, so this classic, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I did read it, and I absolutely enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. So this is going in the red pile. Another classic that I have is Carmilla, which is basically the story that predates Dracula by like 26 years. It's basically like, kind of like a, well, it's a vampire story basically. Have not read this yet, but really cute little book, and I cannot wait to sink my teeth into this one. So this is going in the not read pile. Next book, hold on, picked two books by accident, is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Read this for class. It was decent. I mean, I already knew the twist, so it was kind of like anticlimactic, but did read it, so it's part of my red pile. So this next book, The Shadows Between Us, was also a finding books like Shadow and Bone kind of thing. It's not like that at all. It's its own original thing, but I had fun with it. It was about this girl who basically she wants to like woo the king, and once the marriage is consummated and whatnot, she wants to kill him and take the kingdom for herself, but she falls in love with him. And I read this and had a great time, so red pile. Another classic, The Haunting of Hill House. I have read it. I annotated it. Had some fun with it. I still like the 1999 adaptation better than the actual book. And yeah, red pile. Next classic, The Phantom of the Opera. Now, have not read this, but I have seen the movie adaptation. Well, the musical kind of movie adaptation. And I really want to read it. So, I have not read this yet, and it's going in my to-be-read pile. Next classic, we have Dracula, of course, because I love everything Dracula. I eat up Dracula films, and I've wanted to read the original story for some time. And I still haven't read it, and I'm feeling so upset about that. But hopefully this coming Halloween, I am going to prioritize this. So yeah, super excited about this. Love vampire stories, so hopefully I will get a kick out of this. So that's going in the to-be-read. Next, we have The Picture of Dorian Gray. Now, I think this is another case where I kind of like the adaptation better than the actual book. But I think it's because Ben Barnes was in it, and I'm biased, so I don't know. But anyway, I like the more romantic endings, and this, like, the book doesn't end that way. So it was kind of like, okay, it's a good story, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So, that's red. Another classic, I bought The Hunchback of Notre Dame because I absolutely love the Disney version, and I want to read the actual book and see what the differences are and whatnot. So, haven't read this yet. Pretty thick, but I'm excited to read this at some point because classics are kind of fun, and this is like broken into books, like second book, first book, third book, and whatnot. So this will be kind of fun. Next is Frankenstein, which I also read and annotated a bit for my English class. And I absolutely fell in love with this book. It's totally better than any of the adaptations. And I highly recommend you guys read this because I had a phenomenal time. The monster is so much more than just this scary being that can't speak. And there's a lot to learn from this story. So, red pile. I think this is my last classic, and this is Rebecca. It's basically a gothic romance, which I haven't seen any of the adaptations. But from what I know of the story, it seems really interesting. Like, basically, like kind of like a Crimson Peak kind of story, which I love that movie. Basically, this woman marries this guy, and she doesn't really know him as well as she thinks she does. And all of these secrets come out, and I have not read this yet. But I got it at a thrift store, and I've been looking for it for a long time, so I had to pick it up. And I'm so excited to read this eventually. Yes, so the to be read pile you go. Next, we have the Dune books. So these I have not read yet, but they are so high on my TBR, like it is insane. I really want to get to these. I'm probably going to read only the first 3 and not all 6 because I feel like that's a lot. But yes, I love the movies and I really want to read the books and see the differences and just have a fun time. I don't usually read sci-fi, but for some reason, like Star Wars, these got me, and I really cannot wait to give these a read. So those are to go in the to be read pile. Next, this is a book collection, and this is the Darkest Minds series. Now, I have not read these yet. I tried reading the first book, but I couldn't get into it. I love the movie, but I plan to read these books at some point, just not yet. So, yeah, I'm excited to read these, but just waiting for myself to read other books that I'm more interested in. But I'm definitely going to give these a read, and yeah. But for now, they're in the to be read pile. All right. These next 2 are part of a trilogy, but I haven't finished the 3rd one yet, so I'm not even counting it as read or not read. I'm just kind of putting it in limbo. So this is the North Queen series, and I love these books. I cannot say how, I've given each of these 5 stars, and I just love them probably as much as Shadow and Bone. The characters are great, and yeah. Basically, it's about this girl, Nora, and she basically gets captured by this, Shadow King. Another series I picked up because of the Shadow thing, because of Shadow and Bone, but it's totally not that story, and they, do fall in love, which they're super cute. Anyway, there are lots of conflicts going on, and it's just never a boring time, and I have so much fun reading this so far. So, more read books. Another series that I have read, the Red Queen series. Oh boy, these books. I loved the first one. The 3rd one was also a bit of a step up, but again, the ending kind of really destroyed my liking for the series. And, anyway, these were a good read, but I'm not going to read them again anytime soon. Maybe, in a few years when I've completely forgotten what's happened. But yes, these are going to go in the red pile. Next series. we have His Dark Materials, and I have all 3 books. I got these all from a thrift store. They had all 3 at once, so I picked them up as soon as I could because I love the show and just wanted to, again, read the books and see the difference. And yes, have not read these yet, but so excited to because the world is so interesting. And even though I don't really read fantasy-ish books by male authors, I think Philip Pullman did a really great job with, like, from what I saw from the show, the world and everything. So excited to read these at some point. But as of right now, have not read pile. Next, I have 2 books in the Never After series, which basically is these adult versions of, like, they're not retellings of fairy tales, they're like fractured fairy tales. So it's kind of like the characters, their names are the same, but their stories, like the story, their backgrounds, and all of that stuff gets, like, changed around in an interesting kind of way. So this one was like a Peter Pan kind of, and this one was a Aladdin one. And I had more fun with the Aladdin one, to be honest, but again, I read both of these. More books in the red pile. This is nonfiction, which I don't normally read, but for some reason, the topic of heaven just intrigues me, and reading someone else's experience is kind of cool. So I bought this book a while ago, and I have not read it yet. I think I really am waiting for the right time, because again, it takes a lot for me to get into nonfiction because it bores me, but yep, another book for the not read pile. Next read book is Hate List, and this book was like just a contemporary story set in our time where this girl, her boyfriend says he's wants to shoot up the school, and she doesn't take this seriously, and when he does it, she in the aftermath she has so much guilt, and it's her basically journey of recovering. And it can be a bit triggering, so, yeah, if you live in the US with lots of shootings, maybe be careful with this one. But I did read it, so there you go. Another Frozen book. This one was a prequel to Frozen 2. So this takes place before Frozen 2, but after, the first film and the 2 shorts. And, yeah, this is not my favorite, but another good little mystery goes on here, and to be honest, the book wasn't that good that I remember what the mystery is, so I did read it, but that's basically all I can say. So these are basically the novelizations of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Still looking for the first one, but as of right now, I've read these 2, and I had a blast. We get to hear the characters' thoughts during very intense scenes and emotional scenes, and I love getting more context into the characters' brains, and I had a blast. This also had they have extended content, which is really fun, and yep, I got a kick out of reading these. Another Star Wars book, part of the sequel trilogy, but not a novelization of the films, is this one, Star Wars, basically Resistance Reborn. So this one takes place after The Last Jedi, but before Rise of Skywalker. So I had to get this, because any book to do with the sequel trilogy, I have to buy to get more context and more content with our favorite characters. So I have not read this yet, but I hope to at some point. So, not read. Next book is a dystopian, which I'm not really into dystopian that much, but lately I've been getting a little more into specific ones. And I've heard Shatter Me is a really good one. Have not read this yet, but it is on my list, so do not worry about that. Definitely excited to read about this girl with power, and yeah. That's basically all I know. So, To be read. Next one. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, I did read this, and you guys know this, and I also annotated the hell out of this because it was such a fun book. I loved it. I wanted to read it again when I put it down. And yeah. Red Pile. Need I say more? This book was so freaking good. And I learned so much more about the deeper meaning of the Hunger Games that made it resonate more than just children killing children in an oppressive society. And I really loved this one. And last but not least, the Hunger Games. Now, I got this at a thrift store. I want to get the other two, but I don't have them yet. So, as of right now, have not read this yet. I do want to read these at some point. I'm more into fantasy at the moment than dystopia, but anyway, cannot wait to read this. So, to be read pile. And now I'm gonna count all the books in each pile and let you guys know the results. Okay, so the results are in. Now, most people say that they have more books that they've bought that they haven't read than books that they have read on their shelves. But the results are that I've read 34 of them, and only 25 have not been read. So that's pretty good. I have less books that have not been read than books that have been read. So, phew, that makes me feel a bit better. But yeah, they're not that far apart, the numbers. So maybe I should take a step back from buying books for at least a little bit. But now I will give you guys a time lapse to close this video of me putting all these books back on my shelf. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.